There was a dealer who advertised your payment on this Jeep Grand Cherokee for $250. Your payment is $250. It's every other week. Okay, so your payment's $500. So how many people went to this dealer and got snookered by him, right? Before they even came to me.
Welcome to It Doesn't Take a Genius.
You'll notice you did not hear anybody yell out my name just now, which means we have a guest interview subject, and this is a good one. Dom Genova, the former owner of Genesee Valley Motors. And I have to say, Dom, I can say that, but I can also say a published author who has a
Oh,
book that
yes.
is, I checked, your top five in three different categories last I checked on Amazon, automotive industry, automotive buyer's guides.
Yeah, yeah.
So Dom Genova, welcome to It Doesn't Take a Genius.
Well, this person that's supposed to be calling out your name, is it, I mean, do you hear these voices at other times during the day? I mean, is it, or do you, I'm a little bit concerned because I've known you up to now, and now this is the first time I'm talking about some voice that you're here. I mean, let's put you're not Moses.
That's exactly right. That's very true.
So
Now
this
the
is all a mystery to me. Okay,
it,
go
it,
ahead.
well, and Mike Marshall is a mystery to both of us. You have met Mike. He's
Oh, yeah.
a man of high energy. But yeah, we figured out, Dom, that it's better when we have interviews over the internet to do it one to one,
Hmm.
because you get that third voice talking and everybody stops talking and starts talking at different
Oh,
times.
yeah.
So, but I wanted to really give space for you to tell your story, and I told Mike that my image in my head for this was wind up toy. All I got to do is just wind up some questions and send it your way, and I think you're going to fill the dead air. So, is that fair?
Well, yeah, that's a very diplomatic way of saying that you have some idiot you're talking to who doesn't know when to shut up. And that's probably what somebody with not as good as skills as you have would say, So that's okay.
Oh,
That's okay.
how kind of you to retort. Let me ask you this, because this is really where the story starts.
Mhm.
You came out of a marketing background and had, I believe, 17 years with Chrysler.
Yeah, 17 years of Chrysler calling on Chrysler dealers. What a journey that was, my Lord.
Yeah. And you were calling on stores in, I want to say, North Carolina. Am I remembering that
Well,
right?
it was first New York,
Okay.
and it was Long Island, and then the metropolitan New York, and then they sent me to Charlotte, North Carolina, which it was a real eye opener for me and for everybody who came in contact with me. Um, I'll never forget saying to a dealer, I said, he says, "Where'd you go to school?" I said, "St. Bonaventure." He goes, "That's a Catholic school, isn't it?" Yeah, yeah, it's a Catholic school. It's funny because I was a truck manager for one time,
Uh-huh.
and I'm giving a talk at a large dealership. He had 35 salespeople, and I said, well, the rear axle ratio on this Dodge pickup is this, and if it was that, how much do you think the towing capacity would be? Blah blah blah. Says, okay, any other questions? The guy raises his hand. He goes, "Are you Jewish?" My name is Dominic Genova. You can pronounce it Genova, but I mean, are you, first of all, I forget. But anyway, yeah.
Well, you
So I
do know
spent,
some
I
Yiddish
spent the
for what it's
last,
worth.
I spent the last 9 years in North Carolina,
Okay.
and I'm working for the company. And the thing about working for a big company, and somebody told me this years ago, and I think it's absolutely true, is that when you're 23 and 24 years old, they're going to tell you you're going to be vice president of the company. You're going because you have all the potential of the world. At that, when you're an embryo, you have the potential of doing anything. You could be president of the United States. I got that. Okay.
Yep.
But very few people become the president of the United States.
Yeah.
So you have to, I think you have to come to a realization if your career is going to go where you want your career to go and then do something about it. I could actually tell you the exact day, and well, maybe it's for another story, where I realized I had to leave, for a number
Oh,
of different.
please tell it.
Well, I was having an interview with a personnel review with my boss, and he says, "Well, you're really not a very good team player," which I understand. Anybody with a creative idea in a bureaucracy becomes not a team player. I mean,
Mm.
think about Kodak. They thought their business was pictures on pieces of paper. No, it wasn't. It was imaging. Okay, if they realized what the real product was, they would have done something else and been very, very successful.
Yeah.
And living in Rochester,
You know about that.
we're suffering through that now.
Yeah.
So I got to set this out. So the week between Christmas and New Year's, somebody on staff, if you're above a road guy, somebody on staff has to be in the office in case the phone rings and there's a dealership burning down or whatever. And I'm on staff at the time. He says, we're closed between Christmas and New Year's because that's what the factory does. They close down because there's so much absenteeism at the plants. So we had that whole week off, except you have to work a day. Okay, everybody on staff has to work a day. He says, I said, explain to me a time that I didn't have good teamwork. He goes, well, he says, during Christmas you worked your day. Oh, I worked my day. Yes, I worked my day. He says, well, if you were a better team player, you could have gotten Randy Blackford to work your day, and you could have gone back to New York. Okay, so yeah, thank you. If I got somebody else to work my day, that would be an indication that I was a good team player. He goes, yeah, in a matter of speaking, yes. So every once in a while, I get a chance to talk to a college class. I said, what is he saying and what is he saying? He's saying he doesn't like me. Okay. He made the decision that he was going to stay there for the rest of his life in Charlotte because he had asthma. Okay. The boss is all, I'm going nowhere. I am going nowhere. Clear and unshakable view, what I got to do, I have to leave.
Wow.
I have to leave. I have an idea. I have an innovative idea. I'd rather try this idea at a little dealership someplace, put some money together, and start a small dealership upstate New York, which my wife and I did.
Yeah.
And it became
that worked out for you.
Yeah, it worked. And it was work because here's the thing, as you know, all the dealers get their cars for the same price. So everybody's competing with each other with some type of fakakta, there's my Yiddish word, some fakakta bullshit about why their deal is better than the guys down the road. So they make up stuff. Okay? And most people are pissed off, when they're buying a car because it's like I say in my book. It's like it's not even that the cards are stacked against you. You don't even know what the game is. Right?
Yeah.
What does this mean? How they and the thing is, I thought that if we started off a dealership where we were transparent, totally transparent, we started advertising real price and real payment, put the taxes in, put you qualified here if you had this, and people started responding to that because that was a real competitive advantage. You know what the real competitive advantage was? It wasn't the product, it was the process. So they loved the process. And so if you were to make an analogy or a metaphor, I don't know which one this is, but it's sort of like you're planting an orchard. You're planting an orchard, and are you going to sell firewood or are you going to sell apples? Right? It's better to sell apples. So you're going to have to nurture them more. You have to take care of your customers. Yeah. Our product was not was not cars.
Yeah.
Our car, our I got to stop this. Hold on a second. Yeah, there you go. Send the voicemail. There you go. I'm sure this happens a lot. Our product, the way I defined it for my people, is that our product is we take care of your personal transportation needs. That means most of the time we sell you a car or we fix your car, but not necessarily. If we have to find, you need a 15-passenger van, we don't sell 15-passenger vans. We're going to find somebody who has 15-passenger vans.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and we take care of people. And the thing is that listening to people and understanding what their needs are makes a big difference. And actually connecting with people. I'll give you an example of exactly what I'm talking about. I had a woman who had a minivan, and the window on her minivan, the power window on the minivan didn't work, and she wanted to fix right away. And most of us are saying, well, it's a power window. Who cares about a power window? Nobody. You can live with a power window. It's going to take a week for it to come. No, I want it right away. And she's getting really upset. Right? You got to understand, you got to fix the customer. You're not fixing the car. The problem is that somebody died. This is before Easy Pass. Her power window wasn't working on her minivan. She was taking her family out west. She didn't want to screw around with the door, and trying to, deal with the toll taker. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I had one woman on the showroom floor. The antithesis of that is I had some woman on my showroom floor. She's 45 feet away saying the belt buckle, the end of the belt buckle for her minivan came in gray rather than tan, and we were all stupid and incompetent.
That's a
God did
different
not give her
scenario.
enough problems. Okay. So, the customer is always right. The customer is not always right. But you have to understand where your customer is coming from, right? You have to
Yeah.
have some empathy. You have to have some connection with it. And the thing that drives me crazy too is that, like, advertising companies, they sell you impressions. There's impressions and engagement, right?
Right.
Engagement is much different than impressions. Impressions, you could say, well, there's going to be 30,000 impressions by driving down the road, saying my billboard. But did you connect with them?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And some of
Well,
this stuff is really absurd. I say that in my book. It's like
yeah.
if, like Subaru has this ad where the dogs are driving the cars, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're depending on your dog's ability to drive a car, first of all, they don't have opposable thumbs. Their feet don't hit the floor. They greet each other in a way we hope that you don't greet your friends, right? And their powers of logical deduction are somewhat limited. So like dog approved. I don't get this.
Right.
I mean, and actually what I did is I used that through my advertising, a little sense of humor, like,
Right.
repo sale, you
Yeah.
know, and one of my favorite ads was repo sale. I mean, you want a car that's been dragged out of somebody's backyard 3 o'clock in the morning? Is that what you want? Because I could get that done. If you want to put the car in the farmer's lot, farmer's field at 3 o'clock in the morning, drag it back out for you, I could do that. I said, but isn't that like going on Match.com and actually looking for somebody who's been in state prison? I mean, why would you want to repo? And you know what? They took care of their car so well with the maintenance and the oil changes. That's how come they couldn't pay the real payment.
Right.
So it's like judo. You're using their own energy against them, and it was highly successful for me. Highly successful for me.
Well,
You know,
what I've
because first of all, I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. I'm not academically gifted. It's just that I get it. I get that people are the product what you need to overcome is you need to overcome people's fear. And how do you overcome their fear? With trust, a
yeah.
little bit of humor, and a little bit of humanity, right?
Okay, but so this is what to me is so interesting is you had sort of the vision or the germ of that idea when you were
Oh,
calling on literally hundreds of,
yeah.
Chrysler stores over the years, and you did sort of have to suck up your courage and all of your bank account and say, yeah, let's try this out. So before we get too far off the path here, I do want to give
Mhm.
you a moment. You've hit like already about 10 of my 30 bullets that I have on my list here. I knew you'd do
Mhm.
this, so this is great. My point of stopping is to go back and just point out you had a wife and two young kids, and how did you get the confidence to go make that plunge into the world of being a car dealer?
Well, here's the thing. What's the I word it this way to the college student. What's the currency of your life? If
Hmm.
the currency of your life is literally currency, you'll never have enough. Is it time with your family?
Hmm.
Is it traveling? Is it helping nonprofits? I mean, what do you want your life to be?
Hmm.
And in 1994, I'm making 100 grand. I mean, that's good money in 94.
Yes, it
I
is.
had 5 weeks vacation. I had a company car, all the gas you could use, and healthcare was everything. And you know how this is. You get the healthcare and dental, everything. Okay,
Yep.
and it's very seductive, but that's not the life I want. I mean,
Uh,
the girls are 1 and 4. I don't want to be away from them. I don't want to be parroting my boss, who I know is wrong, who has no feel for the business,
hmm.
just to get ahead. I'm not staying there till 9 o'clock at night just to prove that I work harder than anybody else. But it's not, it's not what I want to
Meaningless.
do.
Yeah.
So we started off in a building that had no power or water, or it was a little wooden building. The rent was $2,000 a month rent.
Mm.
Okay. Now working in the business and dealer placement, I'm like, well, okay, the planning potential of this store is 270. So I can afford they gave me a 2-for-1 loan. Chrysler did. They had $80,000, actually a little better than 2-for-1. Chrysler lent me 210. And we
Mm.
started the dealership on that. With the $2,000 a month rent factor, you're pretty good. But we were going across the street to the Ford dealership to go take a crap because we had no water or power in the building, right? So we started out with 6 people. And
Mm.
it was like, okay, we're just going to be a little dealer, and we're just going to treat people right, and we don't want anybody yelling at us, and the girls are going to go to the school in town or whatever. 1 in 4, right?
Mm.
And and it was like my wife literally, and I say this in the book,
Yeah.
literally says the worst that can happen is we lose our money. We lose our money. You get a job selling cars. I'll get a job waiting tables. I mean, not since Maria von Trapp took the kids over the Alps have I seen a woman with that much nerve. And she's like,
Awesome.
I grew up poor. She says, we can be poor again. That's not life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. But people give me a lot of credit saying, "Oh, you sold everything you had. You'd had this and the other thing." But you know what? It depends where you are. If you're miserable where you are,
Yeah.
money doesn't make any difference.
Right.
They call it FU money. I got FU
Right.
money now. It's like I don't have to do anything for it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I could do whatever I want to do and not be subject to somebody else's whims or desire
Yeah.
unless they want to do it. And I think that's the only thing that money really gives you is freedom.
Yeah.
It gives you freedom.
Well, and your
It's like
wife
right now
gave you freedom.
you're interviewing me. I'm my sister's my
Hmm.
sister's on Long Island in bad health, and when I'm spending a week or two with her, I can do that.
You can do that.
I
Yeah.
can do that. I can do that because I have the money to do that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'd like to tell anybody who's listening here, though, you don't have to be that smart.
Hmm.
You just have to have, it's
It doesn't take a genius.
no, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Hmm.
I mean, I read a book. Well, fear the fear and do it anyway. So what's the worst going to happen? Worst going to happen, we lose all our money.
Hmm.
And the other thing from my standpoint, I was always very confident that if I failed, I could get a job working for Chrysler again, calling on dealers, not
Hmm.
being on staff because I didn't like that anyway. Being a road guy
Yeah.
because I loved that. I related so well with the dealers.
Hmm.
Oh man, I loved it. They're crazy. I mean, they're crazy.
Right.
And you know what it's like. 20% of the dealers are so good you can learn from them.
Yep.
Okay, 40% um have some type of improvement issues that you could help them and is very rewarding.
Yeah.
And 20% of them are morons and you can't do anything with them. It's like my 7% rule. Let's tell everybody the
Go
7%.
go for it.
Well, everybody, I worried about. I've had people talk to me about the percent. They argue with the percent. They don't argue with the concept. It's a very liberating concept. Very, very, very liberating concept. So back in '94, I was worried trying to make everybody happy, and I realized that some people you just can't make happy.
Right.
And I should I clean up the language or not clean up the language?
You know what? Clean it up because I think we do have a few that listen with their children present.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So 7% of the people in the world are either mean or nuts. Okay. And they're mean or nuts that you can't affect them. You
Yeah.
can't do anything with them. The person that thinks that the world is flat, there's nothing you can do to explain to people that it's flat. The person who's just mean
Yeah.
and wants to get the car for free, or you can't do anything with them either. The person that says, "I'm never coming back here again." Okay, don't come back. I'm not
Yeah.
spending money on you.
Yeah.
It's like that. So you have to just take them and throw them away, and put them. You don't have to recycle them. You don't have to have a bin and say which one's which. And the thing is that you forget about that and you spend all your time on the 93%.
Mm.
The
And
93% it's either yes, we made a mistake, or yes, you deserve a concession, or yes, you've been a good customer of mine, and even though you don't deserve this, I'm going to do this for you because I'm loyal to you because you're a good customer of mine.
right.
But the
Right.
customer is not always right. And so, and like one of the things we had at our dealership, at most dealerships, somebody could spend $75 to make a customer happy. Okay.
Mm,
I had unlimited amount of money. You know, if
mm,
we did something wrong and it's going to cost you $3,000 to whatever it is, if we did it wrong, spend the $3,000. Don't put the customer through hell.
yeah, yeah,
But if he wanted something he's not entitled to, no, I'm not
yeah.
doing that for him. You
And
know, I mean,
you're
and every once in a while you get somebody like that. They don't care about you
right,
at all.
right.
You know, it's sort of like, you know, fairness. When I when I was selling cars myself, and first time I sold a car is when I had the car dealership, believe it or not.
Huh.
But you know, I would say to a customer, I says, "No, Mr. Customer, I know you want to get the car for free. That's your ultimate objection. And my goal is to make $3.5 million out on you and go to retire in the Cayman Islands. Okay. If we each wanted to get exactly what we wanted, that's it. We're going to have to meet in the middle someplace, you know. You're gonna think you could have gotten the car cheaper, and I'm gonna think I could have sold to somebody else for more money. But you know, that's the way it is. And people would laugh and they would understand that because I'm not trying to pick your pocket. And I just want fair. And every once in a while, you have to throw a customer out. I mean, it's just, you don't
Well,
want some, you want something I can't do.
so you did the dealership world for 26 years, I believe.
26 years, yeah.
And so what I want to ask you about is you mentioned the orchard, the apple orchard.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of your approach was in sort of a different part of the funnel,
Yeah.
the marketing funnel, the
Yeah.
sales funnel than what we talk about in the modern car dealership world, I guess. Could you explain? I mean, we haven't even said the phrase "no nonsense" yet, but could you explain sort of, you had this germ of an idea, you tried it out in the store. What did this look like, and why was it so different?
Well, first of all, in the car business, what you have to follow the money. Okay.
Mm,
Um, the When you go negotiate a real estate deal,
mhm.
you have a real estate agent that helps you, right?
Yep,
You have lawyers that are looking over your paperwork. Okay.
yep.
When you buy a car, you don't have that. The sales are negotiated. So the more that um, you pay, the more the salesperson gets. Now, automatically, you're a zero-sum game.
Mm,
Okay. So, and then you go to what they try to do. The natural tendency of the dealers is to make money on you with something else. Finance, reserve. Aftermarket things. So, I mean, you think about it. An engine's got to carry its own weight, right?
mhm.
So if I eliminate a finance manager, and if somebody wants a warranty or they want something, like that with their car, the salesperson sells it. And we eliminate the process of a customer making more money on the deal
Mm,
if you pay more. So my salespeople were paid a good salary
mhm.
and they got a bonus per car. So we want them selling a lot of cars. Now, the problem with this is that they're working the desk more than they're working the customer. Okay, let's sell the car for free. No, 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 George, we can't do that. Okay, we need to make a little bit of money on this car.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you find that person, and I think a lot of businesses rely on getting the right people in the right job. I mean, obviously, but you
Mm,
got the person who's like, well, maybe I might make a little bit less money, in the spring, or the summer, but when it's getting dark at 4:30 at night in Rochester in the middle of February,
yeah.
I'm still getting paid enough money to pay my mortgage. And you got people that would work for other stores and feel guilty about the process that they had. Okay, so you have to find the
Wow.
right person for that whole thing. I mean, nobody. I mean, think about this. Have you ever heard somebody? My question I ask everybody on my show, because I have my radio show,
Yep.
that I have a guest. What did you want to do when you were 10 years old? Has
Yeah.
anybody? I've had 360 shows so far. There's not one person that said they wanted to sell cars.
Right.
Mommy, Daddy, I want to sell cars for a living. No. There's no. So it's a fallback position.
Yeah.
It's a fallback position. And the thing is that most of the people that are salespeople are good, honest people. They're just trying to make their mortgages and sell cars and just survive. But the process is, if every dealer doesn't really have a competitive advantage, then they have to come up with something. And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, there's some things in my book that I mean, it's just absolutely, it's absolutely incredible. Some of the things.
That's a great segue into talking about the book. Don't be taken for a ride. You and I
Yes.
both have copies. Surprise,
Yeah.
surprise. And I wanted the subtitle here. Don't be taken for a ride. Know what your dealer knows. Drive home happy. So this is really an extension of your no nonsense car dealer brand.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
fair?
I tried to market it, as you know, years ago. I tried to market this to dealers,
Yep.
but the problem is that the headwinds um, were really against me. I mean, the thing is that it's sort of like you're driving on the left-hand side of the road and you're telling somebody to drive on the right-hand side of the road.
Mm.
The advertising agencies wouldn't understand or agree
Uh,
to it because it's so innovative. The dealers have their system that's all based on what they do now. You know,
yeah.
you have somebody who's a finance manager and they're paying the guy's commission. Now you say, well, now we're going to go to this. It's too risky for them because that's not what they've been doing.
Huh.
And I tried to make it into a franchise for dealers. And what happened is that quite honestly, the people that I sold the dealership to were supposed to follow the program and they didn't.
Mm.
And okay, it's a week before COVID, do I want to fight this battle or not and whatever. So rather than going from the top down, I figure, well, let's go for the bottom up. I mean,
Uh-huh.
um, there's a great quote that I use on my show all the time. It's Jackie Robinson. I love the quote, and it says, "A life has little meaning except on the effect it has on other lives." Right?
Mm. Yeah.
So, okay, so maybe I can put this into a book
Mm.
and explain the process that's making you all upset at buying a car and highlight those things that would be advantageous to the good dealer. So you think about this, and it's funny. The sheriff of Monroe County here in Rochester, he goes, "Man," he says, "you're going to make a lot of people upset." I go, "Yeah, I got that." I says, "But it's also going to make some dealers happy."
Yeah.
I said, "I said, Todd, we all go 70 to 65. Okay, we all do. You know that. You can get away with a little bit of this." I said, when somebody's going down the road at 120,
Mm.
making everybody fear for their lives and recklessly driving, when you got your police cruiser, you go catch that guy, you pull him off the side of the road. The rest of us are like, yeah, yeah, they got that guy, didn't they? Right?
Yeah.
It's psychological. It's psychological. So the guy who's a good dealer, well, this is going to help him get business because these other dealers are fishing upstream
You're
with
right.
this bullshit stuff. I mean, like one of the things I explain in the book is that there was a dealer who advertised your payment on this Jeep Grand Cherokee for $250. Your payment is $250. It's every other week. Okay, so your payment's $500. So how many people went to this dealer and got snookered by him,
Right.
right? Before they even came to me.
Right. Right.
Now, if you came to me, I could say to you, well, now here, look at this ad. That's
Yeah.
$500 a month, Mr.
Yeah.
Customer. But how many people didn't I see? And the other thing I see is that people who think they got a good deal, but they didn't because they just didn't understand. And I go through that in my book. A woman says, I buy my cars for $100 over dealer cost no matter what. No, you don't. You don't want to insult her, but no, no, that's not happening.
Yeah. That's
You
not how it
know,
works.
that's not how it works. I mean, so I decided to do this. I decided to do this with a little bit of tongue in cheek, like when I
Uh-huh.
did my ads,
Yep.
you know. I mean, one of my ads, 10th sale, yes, this dealership has a 10th sale. If moving my cars 2 miles down the road made them cheaper, if I moved them to Schenectady, they'd be half price, right? And because they do this in the summer here, obviously, and we have indoor plumbing and air conditioning. If you come to us, and literally, I got one of those little tents that they use at the festivals,
Yeah.
the 10 by 10 tent, little tent, little prices. I just used their energy against them, and they were like, oh yeah, let's go
Or
to
judo.
Genesee Valley. And then when they get to Genesee Valley, you get a salesperson who from from hi, hello, and shaking your hand to shaking your hand when you leave, and you had one
Mhm.
person handle them. It's sort of like sex education. You want people that do you want, we had people we educated, it wasn't training. I don't know if I ever said this to you. This is like PG. This is a little bit naughty. Do you want your
Go
daughter to
ahead.
go for sex education or sex training? You don't train people. You train for the dogs. It's like, oh, and I would go through that with Chrysler. Here's the manual. When you see a customer on the lot, go and give them a hearty handshake and say, "Welcome to ABC Motor." Oh, for Christ's sakes, just no. Treat people like people. There's the golden rule and the platinum rule. I'm
Yep.
revealing everything, and then there's going to be so much they're not going to want to buy the book and get this.
Well,
But
listen,
there's the gold. There's the
you've
gold.
got stories that
Yeah.
are in the book that we're not going to be telling, and you've got a lot of examples of your advertising that,
Yeah.
frankly, the stories in the
Yeah.
appendices with the ads worth the price of admission. So
Well,
go ahead.
I appreciate that. The other thing is the platinum. I learned this at Chrysler.
Yeah,
The golden rule and the platinum rule. I
yeah.
think this is another drop dead brilliant concept. The golden rule is to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Hmm.
The platinum rule is to treat them the way they want to be treated.
Right,
Okay. Does
right.
somebody want to come in and then go bing, bang, boom? They want something really quick, or do they want to go through the process, enjoy the test drive?
Yeah.
What do they want? And as it was explained to me, you go to a restaurant and the waiter fills up your glass every time you take a sip. Do
Mm.
you like that or not like that?
Right, right, right.
You like that or not like that? So
Annoying.
where is the customer coming from, and what ultimately will make them come back? So our deal was we collected customers. We
Yeah.
didn't try to drain every dime we counted everybody. We tried to make them as happy as possible, and then they start sending in their kids, and they start sending in the grandkids, and you got a sustainable business. You got a
It's long
sustainable
term, but
business.
this is how you grow the orchard, right?
Right. That's how you grow. That's how you grow the orchard. And the thing is that they would come buy cars from us no matter what. I mean, we had a weathercaster once say, "I bought my cars from Don because at least I know I'm not getting screwed." Okay, good fella. He passed away. He says, "But at least I know I'm not getting screwed." So the bar is so low.
Yeah.
The bar is like, don't just make things comfortable for me. But that's the point of the book is that I can do this, and nobody has done this before, and I can save some people. It's like that thing about the starfish. Every say that thing, the guy's throwing the starfish, and he says, "Well, you can't save all the starfish. You can save one of them. You can save one of
Matters
them."
to this one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Jackie Robinson quote. You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
so and that's the thing. And I think there's something I learned years ago about male ego, and I think you have to reword the last one of this a little bit now. But they said a man needs a cause to fight for, an adventure to partake in, and a damsel to save.
Yep. Yep.
Forget the damsel to save. You can say a family to provide for, maybe,
Yeah.
something like that. But that's it. And this is ultimately interesting to me. But the other thing is that I'm going to make this part of a series, so
Yeah.
don't be taken. All right. So I never liked that dummies thing because that's just insulting things for dummies. But there are people that have inside information on a number of different things. I have a fellow who wrote a book about the next one is going to be about how your computer's taking advantage of you. The stuff
Uh-huh.
that he says there are no viruses anymore. Says
Uh-huh.
it's really not a virus. It's the way, the way they scam you and what they do. He says the
Uh-huh.
big box stores, what you need to do and what you don't need to do, the stuff that they charge you for that is just, just bullshit and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I have another fellow. He's writing a book about your college process.
Hmm.
And he says the loan. He says now the student loans. He says most people don't know that the college is getting 2% for you taking the loan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Ooh. Yes, I
Huh.
did not know that either. He
Huh.
says, and most people don't negotiate. He says, I can negotiate for you. And there's so many other things that are involved with that. But he says, yeah, he says they don't care if you get a degree in Russian history and you can't find a job in that. They're making money on you borrowing as much money as you can, and they're getting 2% for it.
Wow.
That'd be nice stuff to know. But
All
anyway,
right.
or I'm thinking about making this into a series. You know what really bothers me when people say I'm retired. I'm not retired.
Yeah.
I got this real estate because I had to buy some, real estate not to pay the capital gains tax. I got that. I got the book. I got another book. I got this thing with, potentially a no nonsense car repair shop. I
Yeah.
got Middle Finger Lake.
Right.
Yes, you
You sent
remember
me a
Lake
shirt.
Wobegon? Yes, yeah, you remember Lake Wobegon? So I got Middle Finger Lake, and I have a federal trademark on that, by the way. Middle Finger Lake, where life is perfect, but could always be better. And I actually
And
interviewed
I was
Garrison
going to
Keillor on my
say,
show.
you got to
Yeah,
talk about
I
getting
met.
to interview Keeler.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, here's what I'd like to do before we get into another segment here. I'm going to call it a halftime timeout
Mm-hmm.
so that we can break these into nice nuggets
Mm-hmm.
of information. So for now, let me say uh, farewell to our listeners, both of them. And we're going to see. Thank you, Don. I knew you'd laugh at that, Don. But I want to talk to you in our next episode about what it was like on the organizational side. You said that the creative person is not a team player in a bureaucracy, and yet you had to create an organization and a team that did this. You've got some things to say, some insights about what that looks like on the inside that I want to kind of tease out in our next segment. And I want to talk about the insanity of the Wild West that was and maybe is the car business and some of
Yeah.
the customers and characters we
Be
get.
happy to.
Beautiful. Okay. So on that note, I'll turn it over to our voiceover artist. Thank you, Mr. John Wolf.
And that's a wrap. The musings of Mark and Mike. No rights reserved, etc. Feel free to share and discuss what you heard today. Even claim the ideas as your own. Who'd want to do that? See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius. Thanks.
That's good enough.